Back with another video, and first off, happy Halloween to everybody out there. Hope everybody's having a safe Halloween and eating plenty of candy, which I ate a little bit of. But tonight, bringing you a couple of reviews here, starting off with my review of Fire in the Sky, 1993 film. And this is based on the story, the true story, whether if you believe it or not, of Travis Walton, who was abducted back in 1975. And the plot here, you have these group of vloggers. You have our lead character, Travis Walton, who's played by D.B. Sweeney. And also in this group, you have Robert Patrick, you have Craig Sheffer, Peter Berg, Henry Thomas. And one night, they see this light in the forest, and they stop to take a closer look at this light. D.B. Sweeney's character gets out, and he's engulfed by this light, and then suddenly disappears. And the guys freak out, and then they head back to town to file a missing person report. They can't explain what happened, what they just experienced. And that's when we're introduced to James Garner. He's this investigator, and he's asking the group questions, trying to get an idea of what happened to D.B. Sweeney. And, throughout the film, these group of characters, they're being ridiculed, and they're the townspeople. They don't really believe these guys and what they saw, that perhaps they had a hand in his disappearance, that that maybe he was murdered. So they think that these guys had a hand in his murder. And James Garner, again, he's investigating what happened, trying to put the pieces together. And then later on in the film, where you would see the main character, he's in the spaceship, and long story short, you see his character go through this ordeal where he's being tortured and poked at and probed by these aliens, what you see right here. And there's his character's having flashbacks in the film of his ordeal. And when the torture scenes do come up in the film, they're very intense. It's very visceral and in your face. You can feel the, again, his character being tortured, and you feel bad for the character. You sympathize, with the lead character, where he's having these flashes to where he's being tied down onto this table, and he's being poked at, and these aliens are doing, again, some kind of surgery or something on the lead character. And that's kind of the story here. But again, it's based on the true story. And I know, being that it's the month of horror, would I say this is a horror film? I think it does have its moments of horror, but it is more of a sci-fi drama. But when the scenes come up where you see his character being tortured, I think there are some moments there that there's some elements of horror, because it's really intense, it's really visceral. Now, getting to the cast, Robert Patrick, really, if you think about, because watching this film again, you can say Robert Patrick is our lead character. D.B. Sweeney, his experience, you don't really get until an hour after the film. The first hour of the film, it's more about the dramatic portions, between these characters, where they're being asked questions by James Garner, and they're being ridiculed by the town. And at the same time, you get this one character in the group played by Craig Sheffer, who's kind of a troublemaker and doesn't really get along with anybody. So you can say the first hour and 10 minutes of the film, again, it's more about the dramatic scenes, the dramatic portions of the film between characters. And then after that first hour is where you get to see D.B. Sweeney's character in the spaceship. And his character's in this cocoon, he breaks out, and then soon enough, you see these aliens dragging him through the spaceship, and they put him down on this table, and they throw over this like sheet. I don't know how to describe it. And I know, from what I understand, this film took some liberties because Travis Walton, what he described is nothing like what the film did. And, a lot of films do this, especially when it's based on true stories. They do take liberties and, embellish certain aspects for the movie. But for what the film did and what the film was able to show, the ordeal and the character being, again, where he's on this table and they throw this like sheet over the main character and they cut open his eyes and his mouth and the character's screaming, and this is where you feel bad for the main character. This is where you sympathize with the Travis Walton character, and that's where they take this needle and they go like right into his eye. And it's like, again, you can really feel it, the visceralness of those scenes. But, getting back to what I was saying about the cast, D.B. Sweeney, he's still our lead character, but you can say a lot of the film is Robert Patrick and, trying to defend himself and this group from the town where these guys are being ridiculed and people believe that they murdered D.B. Sweeney. But Robert Patrick did a great job that he shows that, he's a likable character because Robert Patrick, around this time, this is coming off T2, he wasn't playing a whole lot of good guy, lead roles. A lot of people saw him as, an antagonist, type of actor. But Robert Patrick did great here. Again, you also have Craig Sheffer, Peter Berg, who now is a big-time director. Henry Thomas, yeah. Another film where you have Henry Thomas and an alien. But Henry Thomas is in here for a little bit. I mean, he's given a small part where he's the young guy of the group. Not a lot of dialogue. But, yeah, this is a different movie from E.T. But, yeah, Henry Thomas is in here. James Garner is good support. I like him as the investigator. So, for the most part, the cast works well. Again, it's more about, you can say, for the first hour or so, again, it's more about the dramatic, scenes between these characters, the logging crew and James Gardner, and then you get to more of the intense stuff. But the cast works. Now, it was directed by Robert Lieberman. I don't know, I mean, looking at this guy's IMDb, he seems to work, like he worked on a lot of TV shows, a variety of TV shows. I don't think he directed many films, but I thought, he did a great job here as far as, developing the characters and, making us feel bad for the lead character. Like when he's rescued and, like, they're trying to, you have these one or two guys that are trying to get answers from our lead character, trying to explain what happened to him. But the group, they're like, hey, back off, give him room, give him space. And then when the main character comes back, he starts to have these flashbacks. But, talking about the director again, I thought he did a great job here directing. And I thought, I mean, I do wonder because, it's PG-13, what if they went the R route? Like, I don't know, it's just something that I think about with this movie because, again, it's not like early on, because you see the abduction, but the actual scenes where he's being poked at and probed, it's nothing graphic. Again, it's PG-13, so, they only go so far. I mean, I wonder what this could have done, like, how this film could have turned out with an R rating. I do wonder about that now, rewatching this film again. I mean, again, it's nothing, it doesn't go so far with the abduction and what the main character's ordeal. It's not like you see him getting probed in that way. So, and I'm not saying that, I want to see that if it was rated R, but maybe you could have dialed up the intensity a little bit. Maybe that's something that he could have done. If you're going to embellish it a little bit, then dial it up the intensity. Dial up the intensity a little bit. Again, I'm not saying that you have to go so far, but maybe you could have incorporated like the scenes a little bit early on in the film, where he's being poked at by the aliens and stuff, and getting worked on. But for what the scenes, again, the scenes that do come up in the film, I think are really intense, and it's really visceral, and so, but it's just one of those things that I wonder about. If it was R-rated, where could that have gone? But this film also has a good score. The pacing didn't bother me. D.B. Sweeney, I didn't even talk about him, but I thought he did a good job here playing a likable lead in Travis Walton. And yeah, I was trying to think what else to mention. On the DVD here, there's not too many features. I don't even know if this is on Blu-ray or not. If it's not, it deserves to be. And I would definitely pick it up if it's on Blu-ray. And definitely deserves some features. Again, I understand, you're going to have some people that may believe in the story, some people won't, but, no matter what you believe, it would be interesting to hear more about the story. Maybe Travis Walton is kind of at this point in his life where he's tired of talking about it, but, that's something that, again, they can go a little bit more into with the DVD or like a newer Blu-ray. But on top of that, maybe you could add some behind-the-scenes stuff. Interviews with the cast. You can interview D.B. Sweeney and Robert Patrick and Peter Berg and Craig Sheffer. You can interview some of those guys. Maybe, some word from the director. But, so yeah, I would say this is definitely one of the best alien abduction films. I haven't seen too many, but I would say this is definitely at the top. And it's a film that, if you haven't seen, you should definitely check it out. And yeah, it is in widescreen. And there was something else that I wanted to mention here before I wrap it up. But yeah, like I said, it's, in regards to horror, I wouldn't say this is a horror film, but the scenes that do come up in the film with the aliens and the main character's ordeal, there is some elements there of horror, but for the most part you can say this is a sci-fi drama. But those moments work. I thought those moments that do come up where they were well executed. So yeah, at the end of the day, Fire in the Sky, if you haven't seen, definitely give it a watch. I think it's a well done sci-fi movie, and great cast. Everyone does their part well, from Robert Patrick, Craig Sheffer, Peter Berg, James Garner, D.B. Sweeney, and yeah, so definitely give it a watch if you haven't seen. But that's my review of Fire in the Sky. But thank you for watching, and